Hi everybody, in this video we're going to be adding battery power or a wall power adapter power to the XT30 on our quadcopter. This allows us to test things like the motors, okay, as well as the video transmitter. But I want to give you a warning up front. You want to make sure you don't have the battery power applied for too long while the drone's just sitting. The reason why is because your video transmitter will power up when you plug in battery power. With USB it's not actually powered, your video transmitter is not powered. So it will power up with battery power, which means it will be sitting there and getting really, really hot if you're not flying around. Okay, so having this sit and bake, just super duper hot for like 15 minutes is not going to be good for the video transmitter. Okay, so we only want to apply battery power when we know what we're doing and we can do it quickly and then unplug the battery again. Okay, so if you want to watch this video through its entirety before doing the steps, that works great. If you're going to apply battery power and kind of do it along with me, it should be fairly quick, but just realize if you get stuck or you're confused, just pause, unplug the battery power, let the video transmitter cool off, review the video, make sure you know what you're doing before you plug back in, and quickly follow those steps. Okay. So what we're going to do first before we actually go back into the Betaflight configurator is use another tool to update the firmware on our ESC. Okay. Hi everybody, this is a quick note from the future. I apologize. In the video where I'm talking about ESCs, which is the video you're watching right now, I didn't realize that by default your ESC would be, or your motors would be disabled, which you need to enable before you can continue on with this video. So to do that, just make sure you connect your aircraft up to Betaflight like we've been doing in the other videos. You want to go down to the Motors tab over here on the left-hand side and make sure that DShot 600 is selected. Yours will be disabled by default, which is the part I forgot about. You want to enable DShot 600 and then you'll save and reboot. Now mine's grayed out because I haven't actually changed anything. It was already saved like this, but yours will be yellow highlighted. You can hit save and reboot. And then you can continue on with the rest of the video where we flash firmware to our ESCs. So again, that's the only thing we need to change there. Everything else I go over in the video later on. Okay, so just this drop down is it. Save and reboot, and then excuse me, and then continue on with the video. So I apologize for the brief interruption. Back to your normal video. We're using DShot, which is an ESC protocol, a language spoken to the ESC basically, and we want to enable bidirectional DShot. That means the flight controller can talk to the ESC and the ESC can also talk back to the flight controller. That allows the flight controller to know things like how fast the motors are actually spinning, okay, which can then allow better filtering and adjustments of the flying performance later on. You can fly without bidirectional DShot, but in this class we're going to use bidirectional DShot and set it up because it's got a ton of benefits and really no downside besides a little bit extra setup time. Okay. So I'm going to be using the Chrome browser in a minute here. You need to use a Chromium-based browser. Most Chromium-based browsers will work for this. I believe Edge will work as well. But we need to access a tool called the ESC configurator. So let me turn the dock cam off for a second and we'll go to that. Okay. Make sure we're getting that good. Okay, so we're going to open up Chrome. We're going to type ESC configurator, esc-configurator.com, or you can just Google search it. Okay, and it should look like this. All right, I guess I need to restart the app. Yes. All right, so it should look like this. Okay, this is a piece of software that can interface with your flight controller, or basically your flight controller and ESC directly, and allow you to update the firmware on your ESC. It uses what's called a pass-through, so it will connect to your ESC through your flight controller. Because your ESC does not have a USB port, doesn't have a direct interface, we have to use the flight controller as a pass-through. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to apply battery power to our quad after we hit this connect button over here. Okay, we're going to open port selection first, actually, sorry. There's our Betaflight flight controller. We're going to hit connect. Okay, we're going to hit connect over here. Oh, whoops. Oh, this is good. I get to show you guys this. It says port already in use by another application. Try reconnecting. So an important thing to note is you can't have Betaflight configurator connected while you're trying to use ESC configurator. So I need to disconnect this. Okay, it should be disconnected. Go back to the ESC configurator and we'll try that again. Connect. Okay. Why is that grayed out? Let me try refreshing it. Sorry. Okay, open port selection. There we go. Connect. Connect. Great. Unique device ID received. So it connected to our flight controller. Okay. At this point, it's a good idea. like it mentions, to have your radio turned off. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn my radio off. That's okay. All right. And now we're going to connect power to the ESCs. So we're going to plug the battery in at this point. Okay. And maybe I should pull up the overhead cam. Okay, so I just have my drone sitting here with USB. I'm going to plug the battery or wall power in now at this point. Okay. And yours won't make the Batman sound. That's just something I've already set up on mine. Okay, but now it's plugged in. We'll go back over to the configurator. Okay. And now we can hit read settings on the bottom right hand corner. So you get a little tone there. And what we should see pretty quickly is ESC 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Now yours may say normal or reverse in different spots than mine. Don't worry about that right now. All we're going to do is we're going to flash firmware to the ESCs. Okay. So down here it says flash all ESCs. We're going to hit that button. Okay. We're going to select BlueJ. Yours would be on BLHeli S from the factory. We're going to select BlueJ. We're going to leave the ESC version correctly. Okay. And we're going to hit this drop down right here. Okay. If we go back, we can see that my ESCs are on BlueJ 0.19, 48 kilohertz. Okay. So let's go over here. We're going to select version. And there's 0.19.2, or you can do other versions. Okay. I'm going to go ahead to 0.19.2, right? And now the frequency or kilohertz, we want to leave it at the same thing it was at before, 48. So these would be your recommended settings that you want to set before you flash your ESCs. BlueJ, FH40, version 0.19.2, and 48. Okay. We're going to flash the ESCs, all right? So we should hit that button there and then kind of see these progress bars loading across. Okay. And if you feel your video transmitter right now, it's already pretty warm, probably. So we need to give it a break after this, probably, if it's getting real hot, especially. Okay. And we're going to go through, update our firmware here on each ESC so that they're ready to go. Give this a second. Almost done. And you should really only have to do this once, especially during the semester. You don't have to update it to the newest, latest, greatest version every single time, but if they have bug fixes and stuff like that, then it's a good idea to update. All right, so now we see we have all these ESCs have finished that little progress bar. They're all good. So what we can do now is we can basically just write settings, make sure everything's saved, okay, to our ESCs, and we can disconnect up here in the upper right-hand corner. Okay, the ESCs will probably reboot like that. And I'll show you guys probably a little bit later in class if you want to do the sounds, little boot up song on your ESC. It's kind of fun. This tool is used for that as well. I'm going to unplug my battery now out of my quadcopter so the VTX video transmitter doesn't get too hot. Yeah, it's pretty warm. I can hold on to it for a few seconds, but then it gets a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, so now it's just on USB power again. All right. We're going to go over to the Betaflight configurator now and tweak some settings. So we'll need to reconnect to the Betaflight configurator. Okay. And then we'll go down here to our motors tab. All right. So my battery is unplugged right now. No battery. But I'm in the motors tab. And so we're going to change a few things here before we plug the battery back in and actually spin our motors up and check their direction and stuff like that. So in the mixer here we have quad X. That's going to be our frame type. Leave that as default. Okay. I have this slider that says motor direction is reversed checked, though. You will not have that checked by default. What you can do, it's up to you, is you can run what's called props out or props in. Okay. You see the directional arrows here kind of going outwards away from the front of the aircraft and outwards away from the tail of the aircraft. That's called props out. Okay. If I switch this over here, now the arrows are going this way, in towards the nose and in towards the tail. There's some advantages to flying props out that we can talk about in class and stuff, but that's what I'm going to run on my aircraft. I'd recommend you do it as well, and if you want, or you can run props in. It's totally up to you. And once you have that selected, that's great. We're going to move on to this other section down here below. Okay. Our ESC motor protocol is going to be D-Shot 600. Okay. And we're going to enable bidirectional D-Shot. Okay. What that means is we're turning on that feature of the ESC talking back to the flight controller and telling it how fast motors are going and stuff like that, not just the flight controller talking to the ESC and telling the motors how fast they should be going. So it's like a feedback feature, we could say. All right. Hopefully by this point our video transmitter has cooled down a little bit. And I'm going to try to organize this video a little bit better here. Let's move this up over here in the screen. That should allow us to see everything on Betaflight, I think, at the same time. Okay, looks like we should be good on the recording. Sorry, I wish I had a better streaming setup, but that's okay. All right, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to apply battery power to our quadcopter, and then we're going to move some settings around inside the configurator, and we're going to check our motors at the same time. So I'm actually going to move this a little bit off to the side, maybe like this. I want the quad to be relatively big, but I don't want to take up too much of the screen. You're not going to be able to see the motor spin very well in the camera, but you'll just have to take my word for it, I guess. All right. Okay. So here we're going to plug in our battery to the quad. Okay. We get our ESCs boot up. Okay, great. And we're going to start with our motor configuration. Okay. So let's make sure, normally it reads a battery up there. Let's try just not reading that. Let me try disconnecting and reconnecting real quick. There we go. Okay. That was kind of strange. Back to the motors tab. All right, so what first we're going to do is reorder our motors. Okay, I'll click on this little pop-up here. You're going to say, I understand the risk. The propellers are removed, because they should be removed right now, right? And we're going to say start. Make sure this is still recording okay. Okay, start. Okay. One of your motors will now start to twitch. You're going to click on the motor that's twitching. So right now this back right motor is twitching. Click on that. Now my front right motor is twitching. I'm going to click on that. My back left motor is twitching. I'm going to click on that. My front right motor is twitching. I'm going to click on that. Okay. If that worked great, or was working, your motors are spinning, that's good. You hit save, and we're good on that one. It should reboot itself, and we'll go back into the configurator. If your motors didn't spin for some reason on that setting, you need to check things. Again, go double check the video, come talk to me, unplug your battery while you're doing that so it's not just sitting and getting hot with the VTX, getting overheated. Okay. The next step is the motor direction. Okay, this little button right here. We're going to click this. Another window pops up. Our propellers are removed, so go ahead and check that box. And we're going to use the wizard. Okay. We're going to click on the wizard, and we're going to hit the Start Spin Motors button. It's going to make sure this is going to make all the motors spin. Okay, so be aware it's going to start spinning. Okay. And we're now going to check the motor directions. Now, if you want to, before you do this, you can put pieces of tape on each motor so you can more easily see which direction they're spinning. Okay, I'm just going to use my finger because I'm okay with that. Okay, so I'm going to go to the upper right-hand motor and see which way it's spinning. Is it spinning clockwise or counterclockwise? We want it to go according to this diagram here. So in my case, it should be going clockwise. Mine is, so I'm good. Okay, if it was spinning the wrong way, I would click on the button that corresponds to that number. Okay, let's check my back right motor. It's going the right way. My back left motor is going the wrong way. Okay, it's spinning this way instead of spinning this way. Okay, so I'm going to click on number 3. The motor will stop briefly and then resume, and it should be spinning the other direction now. So that's correct. Make sure this one's correct again as well. Okay, let's check this one up here. Looks like that one's correct. Okay, so all my motors are spinning in the direction they're supposed to be. Okay, so we're good. We hit stop motors, okay, and then we can close. All right, what Betaflight's actually doing there is telling the motors which way to spin, that normal or reverse we saw on the Chrome web tool earlier. I don't know if you remember that or not, but now the motor should be spinning the right direction, okay? We can also manually test the motors over here where we understand the risks. Props are removed, and if you select a motor, it should spin up as you drag the slider up. Okay, so motor number 1 over here is spinning up. And we can make sure it's spinning the right way. We already checked that, but you can double check it that way if you'd like. Okay. At this point, our motors are basically set. I'm going to unplug my battery. Okay, so we don't overheat our video transmitter. I realize you guys probably couldn't see the motors slider there, so let's go over that again. Okay. After you do the wizard, which we did earlier up here, all I did was go down here and check this box, okay, and move these up and down. And as you do that, the motor will spin, the corresponding 1, 2, 3, 4 motor. So you can double, triple check what we did in here with the motor wizard tool earlier when we used that motor direction wizard. Okay. So before you leave this page, your motors should be in the correct position. 1, 2, 3, 4, and they should be spinning the correct direction. Okay, now you can do props in or props out, doesn't matter to me, but I'm going to be doing props out. I'd recommend you try that, but totally up to you. So they should be in the right position. When you tell motor 1 to spin over here, okay, motor 1 actually spins, the back right motor, and then also the motor direction or the clockwise counterclockwise direction should be correct from you running that motor direction test. Okay, hopefully that's clear. That is basically our motors setup. I'm going to break the video here before we go any further.